This is a B1 cell biology topic looking at transport in cells, focusing on active transport. Now, active transport is where particles are moving from a low concentration to a high concentration. And I always think about active transport as being a bit greedy, okay? So you can see here that there's already lots and lots of particles in the area, but they want even more to come across. So where there's this only low concentration up here, they're actually trying to pull in even more particles to where there's already quite a high concentration. And the key to this is carrier proteins, okay? The purple carrier proteins there. And what they do is they're like those greedy helping hands pulling in the molecules, moving them from the low concentration to the high concentration. And this requires lots of energy. Those carrier proteins need lots of energy. It's provided by the mitochondria through the process of respiration, which releases the energy from glucose. Okay, so respiration is where energy is released from the glucose in the mitochondria. So there'll be lots and lots of mitochondria present in this area, and the carrier proteins are going to use that energy that's released to pull those molecules from the low concentration to the high concentration. So a summary of that: active transport is the movement of substances from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration, and it uses lots of energy. The energy is from respiration, which takes place in the mitochondria, so it's the energy is coming from the glucose, okay? And when the glucose is broken down in respiration, the energy is released, and it uses carrier proteins, and the carrier proteins are those helping hands pulling the molecules from one side to the other, and they require the energy to do that process. Examples then: mineral ions moving from the soil into a root hair cell use active transport. So you can see from the picture there's already a lot of the purple molecules there. They're mineral ions, could be phosphate, could be magnesium. There's a lot in the root hair cell already. Not many in the soil, so active transport is going to move those few that are in the soil into the root hair cell from a low concentration to a high concentration. So in the root hair cell there are no chloroplasts because it's underground, so there's no light being absorbed, so there's no need to waste any space in the root hair cell with chloroplasts. There are, however, lots and lots of mitochondria providing that energy for active transport to occur. The example that we have to know about in animals is a little bit more tricky, okay? We go to the topic B2, where we looked at digestion. Now, when we've got the small soluble molecules, for example, sugar, in the small intestine, they move through the villi in the small intestine from high concentration to low concentration into the blood. Now, at some point that reaches an equilibrium, and what that means is that there's the same concentration of glucose in the small intestine as there is in the blood. When this occurs, no more glucose can move across by diffusion because they're both at the same level, they're in equilibrium. So how can we move that extra glucose out of the small intestine and into the blood? By active transport. Okay, so the last bit of glucose moves from the small intestine through the villi by active transport into the blood. And the question here is, why isn't active transport used for all movement of glucose in the small intestine? And the simple answer is because active transport requires lots of energy. Diffusion doesn't. Diffusion is a passive process. Active transport is an active process requiring energy. So it starts off, the sugar moves into the blood through the small intestine by diffusion. When they reach equilibrium, active transport takes over to move that extra glucose into the blood. Here is our summary then. So we know that active transport is a movement of substances from low concentration to high. We can see from our picture here that at the top, the outside of the cell, there is a low concentration, and at the bottom, the inside of the cell, there is a high concentration. The purple carrier proteins help move those molecules across, and they require lots of energy, which is provided by respiration. Hope you found that useful. Thank you.